Imagine this. You wake up one morning, the sun shining through your window, but instead of feeling energized, you feel heavy. It's not physical weight, not something you can touch or see. It's the weight of thoughts. Thoughts about what you did yesterday, what you didn't do, what others think of you, what you should have said or done differently. Your mind is racing, a never-ending stream of worries, regrets, and hopes, all fighting for your attention. And in that moment, you pause and wonder, is this really the life I want to be living? What if I told you that everything you're stressing about, the things that seem so urgent right now, won't matter in the end? That the opinions of others, the mistakes you've made, the things you wish had gone differently, are all just noise. In fact, what if I told you that letting go of all that noise could be the key to truly living a life that brings you peace and joy? You see, the real question isn't about fixing everything or meeting everyone's expectation. It's about understanding what really matters in life. It's about realizing that the things that drain your energy, your worries, your fears, the judgment of others, won't matter in the long run. What will? It's the moments you've spent nurturing the things that truly matter: your health, your relationships, your inner peace. So let's dive in and explore this truth together. Because once we learn what really matters, once we begin to let go of everything else, we unlock something truly beautiful: the power to live fully, to embrace every moment, and to find true fulfillment. Let's begin this journey. Chapter 1. The Burden of Stress. Let's pause for a moment, shall we? Take a deep breath, sit comfortably, and close your eyes if you can. Now reflect. Have you ever found yourself trapped in a loop of thoughts that never seem to end? Maybe it was a mistake you made years ago, one that still weighs heavily on your heart. Or perhaps it's the fear that others don't think highly of you, that you're not enough, that somehow you're falling short in their eyes. You tell yourself you'll be fine, but deep down, there's a constant hum of anxiety, a voice whispering that you should have done more, been more, or simply been different. It's a familiar feeling for many of us. It creeps in when we least expect it, and often holds us hostage longer than we care to admit. But what if I told you that this burden, this weight you carry, isn't necessary? What if, instead of lugging around all that stress, you could let it go, just for a while, and feel what it's like to be free from its grip? In the teachings of Buddhism, there is a concept that stands out: living in the present moment. Mindfulness. It's a practice so simple yet so profound that it holds the key to unlocking peace in our lives. And yet so many of us spend our days trapped in the past or worried about the future. The Buddha often spoke about how most of our suffering isn't caused by external forces, by what happens to us, but by the attachment we have to our thoughts, to expectations, and to the weight of all the burdens we carry. Let's be honest though. When was the last time you let go of something that didn't serve you? We often find ourselves overthinking, don't we? Dwelling on conversations that ended weeks ago, replaying every word, wondering if we said something wrong. Or maybe we fixate on things that haven't even happened yet, crafting scenarios in our heads about what could go wrong in the future. And so we end up holding on to these thoughts, nurturing them as if they were our children, and before we know it, they consume us. Our peace, it slips away, piece by piece, unnoticed. We've allowed ourselves to become weighed down by thoughts that never had the power to shape our lives in the first place. Buddha had a simple yet powerful teaching on this: what we think, we become. Let that sink in for a moment. It's not just a clever saying, it's a law of nature. When we focus on negative thoughts, when we constantly replay our mistakes or obsess over the judgments of others, we start to shape our reality around them. We become our thoughts. And slowly, without even realizing it, our peace is replaced with a constant undercurrent of stress. But here's where the magic lies. You don't have to live like this. The suffering you experience is not imposed on you from the outside. It's self-inflicted. It's the result of holding on to things that are not yours to hold. Buddha taught that our true nature is peaceful, calm, and undisturbed. But in our attachment to our worries and regrets, we lose touch with that stillness. It's like trying to listen to the gentle rhythm of a stream while we're drowning in the noise of our own thoughts. The stream is there, waiting, but the noise drowns it out. It's easy to think we need to fix everything, every problem, every mistake, every potential conflict. But what if we didn't have to? What if, instead of trying to control everything, we learned to let go? Imagine the freedom that would come with it. Imagine how much lighter your life would feel if you could simply let go of the worries that keep you up at night and focus on the present, on what truly matters now. You see, when we stop carrying the weight of things that aren't ours to carry, we free ourselves to experience the world as it is. We start living in the present moment, where life unfolds naturally, without the burden of unnecessary stress. And in that moment, we find peace, not because the world has changed, but because we've changed our relationship with it. So the next time you catch yourself spiraling into overthinking or clinging to past regrets, remember this: your thoughts are not you. They're like clouds passing through the sky. Some are dark and heavy, but others are light and fluffy. Let the dark clouds pass and allow the light ones to linger. They don't need to control you. What you think, what you choose to hold on to, shapes the world you experience. So let's begin to choose peace over stress, mindfulness over worry. Let's start with one thought at a time, and as you breathe in, let it all go. Let go of what was, let go of what could be, and just be. Here and now, peace is waiting for you. Chapter 2: A Story of Letting Go. Let me take you back to a moment in time, a lesson wrapped in simplicity, yet deep in meaning. Picture it: a quiet, remote monastery nestled on the edge of a small village. The air is always thick with stillness, the only sound being the wind rustling through the trees or the faint murmur of a distant brook. It is here that an elderly monk lived, a man whose wisdom was known far and wide. His life was simple, serene, devoted to the teachings of peace, humility, and compassion. His days followed the rhythm of nature, modest, unhurried, yet profound. One day, as he wandered through a nearby village, the monk came across a woman struggling to cross a river. The river was swollen from recent rains, its current strong and relentless. She stood at its edge, hesitant, unsure whether to risk the crossing or wait for the waters to recede. Seeing her predicament, the monk approached without hesitation. Without a word, he gently offered his assistance, his hands steady and calm. Without even thinking about it, he lifted the woman, one arm supporting her back, the other steadying her fragile frame. Together they crossed the turbulent waters. When they reached the other side, the monk carefully set her down, ensuring she was safe. As the woman thanked him, he simply nodded, gave her a warm smile, and continued on his journey. The moment was quiet, simple, and yet in it, there was so much peace. What the monk didn't know was that his young disciple, who had been walking some distance behind, had seen the entire exchange. He watched as his master touched the woman, lifted her, and walked with her across the river. This act was not something easily done, especially for someone as devout as the monk, who followed strict rules of asceticism and detachment. His disciple, who was still learning the ways of the world, couldn't help but feel uneasy. Later that evening, as the sun began to set and the sky was painted with hues of orange and pink, the disciple finally approached the monk. His voice was hesitant, troubled by what he had witnessed. "Master," he asked, "how could you touch that woman? We are monks, and we must remain detached from the world. We shouldn't touch women." The monk, who had already moved on in his mind and heart, stopped in his tracks. He turned to his disciple with a gentle, almost amused expression. "I left her hours ago," he said simply. "Why are you still carrying her?" The disciple was taken aback, confused, as he tried to understand the meaning of his master's words. "What do you mean?" he asked, still processing. The monk smiled softly, his eyes twinkling with quiet understanding. "The woman needed help crossing the river," he explained. "I did what was needed in that moment, without hesitation, without judgment. I did not carry her forever. I set her down and moved on. But you—" The monk's eyes met the disciple's, his voice becoming a little more pointed. "You are still carrying her, aren't you? You are holding on to something that no longer serves you." In that moment, the disciple's face fell as the realization hit him. The monk wasn't talking about just the physical act of touching the woman. He was talking about how often we hold on to things that aren't ours to bear. Past regrets, unnecessary guilt, the weight of anger, or worse still, other people's opinions. We carry them with us, as if they're our burden to carry forever. The truth was, the woman had crossed the river and continued on with her life. The monk had offered his help in the moment, and once the task was done, he moved on. He didn't hold on to the memory of the woman's struggle, nor did he let her situation define him. He simply helped, then let go, and continued on his journey. But the disciple was still clinging to the moment, still weighed down by it, as if the action were incomplete, unfinished. This simple story teaches us a powerful lesson. How often do we hold on to things that we have no control over? We become consumed by them. Maybe it's a small comment someone made, one that stung at the time, and we replay it in our minds over and over again, as though it defines us. Or maybe it's a mistake we made, long in the past, that we haven't fully forgiven ourselves for. We continue to carry it, dragging it with us like a heavy sack, unaware that it's only slowing us down. Buddha taught us that attachment is the root of suffering. We attach ourselves to thoughts, to regrets, to things that don't serve us, and in doing so, we carry these burdens with us, when in reality, all we need to do is let go. Just like the monk, we can do what is needed in the moment, then move on. The key is to release what no longer serves us, to stop clinging to the past, and to embrace the present with open arms. Imagine the peace you could find if you learned to let go of the things that no longer serve you. Imagine how light you would feel, unburdened by regrets, anger, or unnecessary stress. The truth is, we are all capable of this. We all have the power to choose what we carry and what we leave behind. It's just a matter of letting go. So, the next time you find yourself brooding over something that happened long ago, ask yourself, is this mine to carry, or is it time to let it go? The monk let go hours ago. Now, it's your turn. Chapter 3. The Wisdom of Non-Attachment. Let me take you on a journey, one that you've likely walked yourself at some point in life. Picture this: you're standing on the edge of a river, and in your hand there's a rope. It's coarse, rough to the touch, but you hold on to it, determined, thinking that somehow it's essential. You grip it tightly, your fingers burning from the friction, yet you refuse to let go. The longer you hold it, the more painful it becomes, until the weight of it starts to overwhelm you. You wonder, why does this hurt so much? Why is this rope burning my hands? But then, a thought flickers. What if I just let go? You stop for a moment, taking a breath, and finally, you release it. The rope falls away, and the pain, the discomfort, all of it vanishes. What a relief. That, my friend, is the essence of non-attachment. It's not about cutting ourselves off from the world or becoming indifferent. No, it's about choosing what we hold on to and what we let go of. Buddha spoke of this idea of detachment, not as a way to withdraw from life, but as a way to be wise about where we place our energy. Non-attachment, or vairagya, is the act of caring intelligently, of choosing where to invest our emotional and mental resources. But here's the catch. In life, many of us hold on to things that cause us nothing but pain. It's like we're carrying around heavy bags full of regret, worry, or anger, and we don't even realize it. These emotional burdens are no different from that burning rope. The more we grip them, the more they wear us down. We convince ourselves that these things are necessary, that we must carry them to survive. But in truth, they only weigh us down and rob us of peace. Think about it. How many times have you replayed an old argument in your mind, reliving every word, every slight? Or perhaps you've worried endlessly about a future you can't predict, wondering if you're making the right decisions, whether you're doing enough. These thoughts, these feelings, are like that rope in your hands. The more you hold on to them, the more your mental and emotional health suffers. It feels almost impossible to let go. But here's where the magic happens. The moment you choose to release it, the pain stops. Buddha understood this truth deeply. He taught that attachment to desires, outcomes, or past grievances causes suffering. When we cling to the idea of how life should be, we set ourselves up for disappointment. When we become attached to how things were, we remain stuck, unable to move forward. And when we cling to the notion of how we want things to turn out, we lose the beauty of the present moment. The answer, as Buddha showed us, is to let go, not of life itself, but of the attachments that drain our energy, of the unnecessary burdens we choose to carry. This isn't to say that we should stop caring altogether. Non-attachment is not about becoming a cold, distant person who never feels anything. It's about freeing ourselves from the unnecessary weight. It's about learning that not everything requires our emotional investment. Some things, some people, some situations are simply not worth the cost to our peace of mind. Let me share a personal reflection. I remember once holding on to an old grudge, something that had happened years ago. It was a small, trivial misunderstanding, but I had allowed it to fester in my mind. It became a part of me, like a splinter lodged deep in my heart. Every time I thought of it, the anger would rise, the bitterness would bubble up. It was exhausting. I could feel it eating away at my joy. But one day, I paused. I realized that I had been holding on to this old wound, and in doing so, I was letting it control me. I was gripping that rope so tightly that my hands were burning, and so I chose to let it go. It didn't happen overnight, but slowly, as I released the attachment, the pain faded, the peace returned. I felt lighter, freer. I had chosen to stop carrying something that wasn't mine to carry. The beauty of non-attachment is that it opens up space for what truly matters. It creates room for love, for peace, for growth. When we stop clinging to what doesn't serve us, we make room for the present, for the joy that is already around us, if only we open our hearts to it. So my friend, what about you? What ropes are you still holding on to? What are you carrying that is weighing you down, causing you pain, or draining your energy? The wisdom of non-attachment invites you to ask yourself this question: is this burden truly mine to bear? The answer often is no. It's time to let go, to release what no longer serves you, and make room for the peace, the love,
and the freedom that life has to offer. Because in the end, as Buddha taught, peace comes not from what we hold on to, but from what we're willing to let go of. Let go of the rope, let go of the weight, and watch as your world lightens before your very eyes.
Chapter 4. The Cost of Holding On. I want you to take a moment, just a brief pause, and think about something. Think about the countless times you found yourself tangled up in worry. Maybe it was a fleeting moment, a word you said that you wish you could take back, or perhaps an offhand comment that made you question your decisions. Maybe it was a conversation that didn't go quite as planned, an argument with a friend, or a misunderstanding with a loved one. How much time did you spend replaying that moment, overthinking it, letting it gnaw at you? How much energy did you waste worrying about what others thought, or about how things could have been different? Now reflect. When you look back on those moments, do they truly matter today? Do they carry the same weight as they did when you were caught in the whirlwind of worry? In the grand scheme of things, the majority of these concerns, these small fleeting moments, barely leave a ripple in the river of life, but somehow we often give them more attention, more space in our hearts and minds than they ever deserve. We hold on to them as if they were treasures, as if they define us, when in reality, they are just distractions. Buddhism teaches us something crucial about time. It is precious. Every second we spend wrapped in stress, endlessly replaying scenarios in our heads, or worrying about things we cannot control, is a second that we will never get back. It's gone, never to be reclaimed. And yet, we waste it, our most valuable resource, on things that don't bring us peace or growth. Just think about it. How many hours have you spent ruminating over someone's words? How much mental space have you given to thoughts that only left you feeling empty or exhausted? What if, instead of worrying about how people perceive us, or what we should have said, we spent that precious time nurturing our relationships? What if we focused more on exploring our passions, on enjoying the simple beauty of the present moment? Life isn't a race to fix everything or to be perfect. It's about being fully present and embracing the gift of now. I know it can be hard to let go. We tend to hold on to things big and small as if they're a part of who we are. We cling to our regrets, to the mistakes we've made, and sometimes even to the pain that comes from being misunderstood or judged. But what if the real cost of holding on to all that unnecessary stress is far greater than we realize? What if by holding on we're sacrificing something much more precious, our peace, our joy, our ability to truly live? Think of it this way: life is like a backpack. Every day we're walking through this world, collecting all sorts of things. Some are useful, like wisdom and love. Others, however, are heavy burdens, old grudges, insecurities, frustrations that no longer serve us. Every time we add something to our pack, we feel the weight of it, whether we realize it or not. But the longer we carry it, the more it slows us down. Eventually, it becomes a burden that keeps us from moving freely, from enjoying the journey. But what if we chose to put the unnecessary burdens down? What if we decided to let go of the things that weigh us down, the stress and the worries that don't define who we are or where we're going? The freedom that comes with releasing these things is beyond words. It's a feeling of lightness, of space, of fresh air. It's the ability to truly focus on what matters, the things that nourish our souls, the people who make our hearts full, the dreams that spark our curiosity. When we choose to let go, we allow ourselves the chance to live with intention. We free ourselves from the endless cycle of worry and regret. We make room for what brings us joy, for the things that truly make life worth living. And the best part,
We don't have to do it all at once. We don't need to carry the weight of everything forever. Life isn't about holding on to every burden. It's about learning to let go of the ones that don't serve us, that don't add value to our journey. So I ask you this: what are you still holding on to? What burdens, what stress, what worries are you carrying that no longer belong to you? Is it time to put them down, to lighten your load, and make space for the things that truly matter? Let go of what holds you back, and embrace the beauty of life that's waiting for you right now, in this moment.
Chapter 5. Letting go of others' opinions. As we grow older, something strange happens. We become more attuned to the opinions of others. It's like we start to listen more closely, paying attention to every word, every glance, every small reaction that others have toward us. Whether it's a passing comment from a friend or a subtle judgment from a family member, we start to absorb it all, and in doing so, we begin to carry this weight of external validation, as if our worth depends on how others perceive us. Have you ever noticed that? It's almost like we start living our lives through the lens of what others might think, and somewhere along the way, we lose sight of who we really are. But the truth is, when we live our lives based on the opinions of others, we're trapping ourselves. We become prisoners to their expectations, their judgments, their ideas of what we should be, how we should look, or what we should do. We lose the freedom to just be. We become so concerned with making sure everyone else is happy, so focused on measuring up to someone else's standards, that we forget to listen to our own hearts. We forget what we want, what makes us happy, and in the process, we dim our own light to make room for the approval of others. Buddhism offers us a simple yet powerful teaching. True freedom comes from within. This idea, so deeply rooted in the wisdom of the Buddha, teaches us that we don't need anyone else's approval to be whole. The moment we stop seeking validation from the outside world, we unlock something truly magical. We free ourselves from the shackles of comparison, of judgment, and of fear. We no longer need to prove ourselves to anyone. We stop worrying about whether we fit into society's mold, whether we're meeting the expectations of our friends, or whether our choices align with someone else's version of success. Instead, we live on our own terms. We start to understand that our value doesn't depend on anyone else's opinion. We stop measuring our worth by the amount of likes we get on social media, or the praise we receive from others. We begin to realize that the only person whose approval truly matters is our own. And once we accept that truth, something shifts within us. It's like a weight has been lifted. Suddenly we feel lighter. We no longer feel the need to conform, to fit into someone else's idea of what we should be. We become free to express ourselves authentically, without fear of judgment. Imagine what life would be like if we could all live like that, unburdened by the opinions of others, free to make choices based on what feels right for us, not based on what others think we should do. What if we no longer worried about whether we were enough, or whether we met someone else's standards? What if we could simply be ourselves, unapologetically, fully? The freedom that comes from this kind of release is unlike anything else. Take a moment to reflect. How often do you catch yourself worrying about how you're being perceived? How much energy do you spend seeking approval from others, trying to fit into molds that were never meant for you? What if you could let go of all that pressure? What if you could release the need to seek validation from outside sources, and instead look within? Buddha taught that the path to enlightenment is not about seeking approval, not about proving yourself to the world. It's about discovering who you truly are and living in alignment with that truth. When we stop seeking validation from others, we begin to live with more peace, more clarity, and more joy. We stop living in reaction to others and start living in response to our own heart. It's not always easy, of course. Letting go of the need for external validation takes time and practice. But every step toward releasing that need is a step toward true freedom. Every moment spent not worrying about how others perceive us is a moment of peace. And eventually we start to realize that the only opinion that matters is the one we hold about ourselves. When we let go of the need for approval, we let go of the chains that bind us. And in that space we find the freedom to be our authentic selves. Chapter 6. How letting go transforms you. There's something profoundly liberating about letting go. It's like the moment you decide to stop holding on to that heavy weight you've been carrying for so long. The weight doesn't just disappear, it lifts off you, and with it comes an incredible sense of lightness. You begin to feel lighter, as if the burdens that once occupied your mind are now just whispers in the distance. Imagine for a moment standing in the middle of a storm, feeling the wind howling around you, the rain pelting against your skin. But instead of letting the storm carry you away, you stand firm, like a mountain, unshaken, unbothered by the turbulence. That's what happens when you choose to let go. When we hold on to the things that drain us, whether it's worry, anger, or stress, we allow them to control us. We react to every small thing that comes our way, as if we have no power over our emotions, no control over our responses. Every time something triggers us, we get swept up in it, pulled under by the current of our feelings. But the moment we start letting go of these attachments, something beautiful happens. We begin to notice the change, and it's as if the world around us becomes softer. Instead of reacting impulsively to every little thing, we learn to pause, to breathe, to choose how we respond. It's not an overnight change. It's a gradual process, like learning to sail a boat through a storm. At first, the winds may feel fierce, the waves high, but with each passing day, we learn to adjust the sails, to steady the boat, and slowly we begin to stand firm, not because the storm stops, but because we stop allowing it to throw us off course. The same is true for life. We cannot control what happens around us. We cannot stop every storm from raging or prevent every wave from crashing, but we can choose how we respond to those things. We can choose whether to let them carry us away or whether to stand steady and grounded in our own truth. Buddha taught that the root of suffering is attachment. We suffer when we cling to things, whether they're our emotions, our past, or our expectations of how things should be. But the key to freedom lies in letting go of those attachments. It's not about changing the world around us. It's about changing how we relate to the world. It's about shifting our mindset, learning to let go of the things that no longer serve us, and focusing on what truly deserves our attention. Think about the times you fought battles that didn't need to be fought. Maybe it was an argument you couldn't let go of, or a situation that you tried to control, even though it was completely out of your hands. We all do it. We get caught up in these battles, thinking that we need to win, that we need to prove something, to show the world that we're right. But when we let go of the need to fight every battle, we regain our power. We stop wasting energy on things that don't matter, and we start focusing on what truly brings us peace, joy, and growth. And here's the magic. When we stop fighting, we stop losing. We stop draining ourselves, and in that space, we create room for something more beautiful. We start to live with intention, with clarity, with purpose. We let go of the distractions that cloud our vision, and we begin to focus on the things that matter, the relationships that nourish us, the dreams that inspire us, the moments of peace that fill our hearts. It's amazing how much energy we waste when we hold on to things that no longer serve us. But once we start letting go,
we regain that energy. We begin to feel it return to us, slowly, steadily, like the calm after a storm. And in that calm, we find our strength. We realize that we are not defined by what happens to us, but by how we choose to respond. We realize that we have the power to choose peace, to choose joy, to choose love. The transformation that comes with letting go isn't about the world changing. It's about us changing. It's about us learning to stand strong, no matter what storms come our way. It's about realizing that we are the ones who hold the reins of our lives. When we let go of what no longer serves us, we reclaim our power. And in doing so, we become the calm in the storm, the steady presence in a world that can feel chaotic. So ask yourself, what are you holding on to? What battles are you fighting that you don't need to fight? What emotions are you clinging to that only drain you? And watch how your life transforms.
Chapter 7. What really matters? Have you ever found yourself caught in a whirlwind, running from one task to the next, trying to keep up with the demands of life? Every moment feels like an emergency. Every decision seems urgent. And yet, as the days pass, we're left wondering, what is this all for? The real question is, when all is said and done, what truly matters? We live in a world that constantly pulls us in different directions. We worry about the opinions of others, whether they approve of our choices or how they perceive us. We spend hours thinking about things that didn't go as planned, reliving moments where things didn't turn out the way we hoped. We agonize over past mistakes or missed opportunities. But let's take a step back. Do any of these things really matter in the grand scheme of things? The truth is, most of the things that we get caught up in, the worries, the opinions, the expectations, won't be remembered in a few years, let alone decades. The criticisms, the moments of doubt, the things that didn't go perfectly, they'll all fade away with time. What stays with us, what truly defines the life we've led, are the moments we spent nurturing the things that matter most: our health, our relationships, and our inner peace. Imagine this for a moment. You've lived a long life, filled with many experiences, both good and bad. But what stands out in your mind? Is it the countless hours you spent chasing approval? Or is it the quiet moments shared with loved ones, the laughter, the deep conversations, the warmth of a hug after a long day? Is it the stress of meeting every expectation? Or is it the calm moments where you were content with simply being, breathing, alive? In the end, the things that drain our energy, the worries, the anxieties, the pressure to meet others' standards, will be forgotten. They don't define us, but how we spent our time, how we focused our energy on what truly matters, will echo through the years. The relationships we nurtured, the moments of kindness we gave and received, the laughter shared with family and friends, these are the things that create the foundation of a life well lived. Think about the times when you've been happiest. Was it when you were chasing after the approval of others? Or was it when you were truly present, living in the moment, appreciating the simple joys of life? The goal isn't to be perfect. Let's stop pretending that it is. Perfection is an illusion. It's the pursuit of something unattainable, an endless chase that leaves us exhausted and unfulfilled. No, the true goal is to live a life that brings us peace, joy, and fulfillment. It's about finding balance, about letting go of the things that drain us, and about focusing on the things that fill us up with purpose and contentment. Our time is limited. We can't control everything, and we can't please everyone. But we do have control over where we direct our energy. So ask yourself, what am I giving my time and energy to? Is it worth it? Will it matter in a year, 5 years, or 10? And if not, is it time to let it go? The moments we spend in quiet reflection, the time we invest in caring for ourselves and others, the joy we take in simple pleasures. These are the things that truly matter. These are the things that will define your life long after the rush of everyday worries fades away. So as you continue on this journey, remember what truly matters is not the opinions of others, not the things that didn't go as planned, but the moments you choose to create, moments of love, peace, and joy. Make those your focus, and you'll find that the life you lead will be one you can be proud of, one that fills your heart with warmth and contentment, regardless of what the world may say. So as you go through life, remember this: let go of the things that weigh you down. Let go of the stress, the worry, and the unnecessary burdens. Focus on what truly matters: your peace, your relationships, and your own growth. By letting go, you open the door to a life that's lighter, freer, and more meaningful. If this message resonates with you, take a moment to reflect. What are you ready to let go of today? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.